Hello and welcome to FSU Weather. I'm student meteorologist Chandler Pruett. We are, of course, based out of Tallahassee, but we're going to give you live coverage of what's going on in the south central U.S., specifically Texas, Oklahoma, making its way into Arkansas and Louisiana. We have friends out there, and we want to give you guys a well-informed evening, so we'll be doing some live coverage until things start to die down. Well, right now we're looking at a very long line of thunderstorms and multiple supercells actually out on the head of the line. So this is a dangerous setup, that one of the classic types of setups, where we have this cold front that starts off over here, makes its way across Dallas-Fort Worth, but then we have these discrete supercells that race across the front of the line, and this is what we're really concerned with, are these supercells. Aaron, if you would like to zoom in around where my hand is pointed, yeah, right about there. Yeah, let's go to this southernmost warning first. So if you would like to turn on, let's do reflectivity, or not reflectivity. Let's do, what's one of the other, correlation coefficient real quick. So we can look at the CC values on this supercell. Of course, what we're wanting to analyze is the, basically how this supercell is functioning and picking up debris as it moves across the area. Right now, we're really just wanting to focus in on the reflectivity, though, and see how strong this storm is. Of course, with these deep reds and purples, this means that this storm has very heavy rainfall in its forecast, or in its current life. So, of course, people that are currently in Big Sandy and Gilmore, you guys are experiencing this supercell, and you guys need to make sure you're in your home and inside an interior room of your home specifically, or get into a basement or tornado shelter if you have one of those. Big Sandy, again, in Gilmore. Anybody along US 271, this is a dangerous situation for you guys. Also along US 80, we have the strong line of storms as well that are coming in close. So that's one of the bigger issues as well. But these discrete lines of supercells, these are our main focus. So again, we're going to go and take a closer look at this southernmost warning whenever we get the chance. But again, there's multiple tornado warnings all across our area, and this pretty much makes a good statement about what this type of event is, which is a tornado-producing event. We actually had this as an enhanced risk, which is a 3 out of 5 for severe weather. But this afternoon, it got upgraded to a moderate risk, 4 out of 5, because of this setup has basically increased in its potential, and now it's starting to produce what we've anticipated it to do, which, again, these severe thunderstorms and tornado warnings. This yellow box right here is a tornado watch that has been issued and will be lasting until 8 p.m. Central Daylight Time. So again, that's 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. But again, communities from Sulphur Springs, Mount Pleasant, Longview, Bettle, you guys are all under the gun to seek shelter because of these this severe line of storms and the tornado-warned supercells that are out ahead of the line. Linden, you guys are next with this storm that's causing this tornado warning to occur. So again, very dangerous setup. And then, of course, again, we're even going up further north past into Oklahoma, outside of Texas even. We have some more tornado warnings as well. This line is stretching from Texas, specifically closer to San Antonio, all the way up into Oklahoma and even Missouri. And it's producing tornado warnings specifically here in Texas as well as in Oklahoma. And these tornado warnings, again, are for these discrete supercells that are ahead of the line. These types of discrete supercells have the potential to produce very strong storms, or very strong tornadoes that can last for several minutes, maybe up to an hour even. And so again, these supercells can produce what are called wedge tornadoes, which are very strong, or which can be very strong and very dangerous. So again, if you guys are anywhere between Bettle and Linden, go ahead and seek shelter. Anyone along I-20 or even I-30, you guys are all under the gun. And even once you get up into Oklahoma as well, there are some tornado warnings there as well. specifically this one that's crossing from Texas into Oklahoma. Again, it's a dangerous setup for those that live across Texas and Oklahoma, but now it's starting to get also into Arkansas. So Arkansas and Louisiana, you guys also have tornado watch that's in effect for quite a while into this evening / tonight, and then it will continue to be in effect. And we'll see this line actually push its way across the south central U.S. into the southeast, where we'll also see possibility of some straight line wind damage and tornadoes this tonight from midnight and into the morning. But again, this is a very dangerous setup, specifically though for Texas, which has multiple of these tornado warnings. And also we have the tornado watch that again is issued for all of East Texas. But for now, we're going to let this roll for a second as we deal with some technical difficulties. I am student meteorologist Chandler Pruett. Sorry for these technical difficulties, but we want to emphasize that there's a tornado emergency for those in Oklahoma mostly, slightly in Texas, but for those in Broken Bow and Eagle Town, you are under the gun for tornado emergency. This is a step above a tornado warning. This means you have a confirmed damaging tornado going through the area. So those that are in Haworth, Goodwater, Broken Bow, Eagle Town, you guys are all under the gun until 7:15 p.m. Central Daylight Time. So again, if you're in any of these communities in Oklahoma, southeastern Oklahoma, right on the border between Texas and Arkansas, you guys are all under the gun for a possible tornado. This is a confirmed tornado on the ground. So somebody in this area is going to experience a life-changing event. So those that are in the area need to take shelter now in an interior room of your home, or if you can't get to that, the next best thing to do is to find a neighbor with a basement, to find somebody else that has a room that you can take shelter in. But do not take shelter in any exterior rooms, and do not go outside unless you're trying to get to another person's house that you know can give you shelter. But again, this is a life-threatening situation for those here in eastern Texas. And also we have other important warnings to cover as well. We have warnings all the way up into Oklahoma, going into Arkansas, and as well as these severe tornado warnings even in eastern Texas. Again, this is for supercell tornadoes. So these tornadoes can be long-lasting, very devastating storms. So again, if you're in Gilmer, Texas, you guys are under the gun for the supercell that is making its way towards you as we speak. Anybody along US 80 and US 271, you guys all need to take shelter immediately because of this supercell. And then up north, we have another supercell as well, and Dalneger Field. You guys are under the gun as well. And north of you especially, we have another supercell that's making its way towards Omaha, Texas, Naples, Texas, and into possibly Arkansas, possibly the easternmost counties of Texas, going into Arkansas. In fact, they just now issued a new tornado warning for New Boston and communities here in northeastern Texas. So again, if you guys live anywhere within the southeastern Texas, northeastern Texas, southwest Arkansas, you guys are all under the gun for tornado warnings that are in the immediate vicinity. And again, we have this tornado warning associated with the main line of storms. Let me control this a little better. So anybody within Hartford, you guys are under the gun as well for this strong line of storms. It's actually making a beeline towards Arkansas at this point. So anybody that lives along State Road 80 and US 71, you guys are under the gun as well with this strong line of storms that's making its way that has the possibility of producing a tornado. But again, the main thing that we want to emphasize is this tornado emergency that again is producing a confirmed tornado in Idabel, Oklahoma. You guys are right now dealing with the brunt of it, but people north of you, Broken Bow, you guys are also under the gun for a possible life-changing event. So please take shelter now in the most interior room of your home. The storm might not look impressive on radar. That is because we have a radar gap in this exact area, which means that the storm, the signature that I'm showing you guys, is being collected by distant radars. And what that entails is scanning the top of the supercell. And so when we get these images back, it's actually we're getting the tops of these supercells. We're not getting the lower parts of the supercells where the most action is going on. So right now, it might not look impressive on radar, but this is a confirmed supercell tornado. It's producing a confirmed tornado, and it's racing across southeastern Arkansas. Again, this is a long line of storms with multiple potential tornado producers here in the next few hours, stretching across pretty much East Texas into Louisiana and southwestern Arkansas, and then of course as well Oklahoma. So those that live in the area need to take shelter. One of the best ways to do so is interior room your home on the first floor. Do not take shelter in the second floor or any exterior rooms. Also, if you're in a car, try to find a building that you can seek shelter in, whether that be a gas station or anywhere like a local community building, library, or one of those types of resources. So again, if you're in a car, please try to get out of the car and find somewhere to take shelter in. But we're going to shift over to the wall real quick and talk more about these situations and more in depthly with the resources we have available. So right now we have these tornado warnings. Down here we have this tornado warning that's valid until 7:15 Central Daylight Time. Again, it's not as impressive on radar anymore, but we have this very large supercell that has a lot of curvature in it. What this entails is that there's a lot of rotation within the storm. If we can pull up, yes, exactly. We have this velocity signature, and what this is showing us is that we have this couplet, and what that means is we have winds that are spinning basically to and from the radar. And so when we see this, we see that there is a spinning motion involved with this storm. So again, if you are anywhere north of Gilmer, you guys are under the gun for a tornado. Of course, if you're in Gilmore, hopefully you're already in your safe place because you are right underneath this tornado signature. Let's bring up the CC values. All right, so there's not as much when it comes to the CC values, although there's a little bit up here which signifies possibly hail, which of course north of the tornado signature, that makes sense because our supercell typically has the hail north of where the tornado is. But this looks like we may not have a tornado on the ground as of yet, or it's passing through a grass field where it's not able to pick up any debris. So either way, treat it like it is a serious situation because this is a tornado warning and it's valid till 7:15 p.m. Central Daylight Time. So for the next 8 minutes, if you are anywhere within this polygon, you need to respect it, stay in your safe place. If you're north of it, get in your safe place now, get off the roads. Let's zoom out and let's go to that tornado emergency real quick. All right, yes, it's right here. So we have this tornado emergency again. Tornado warning valid for 7:15 Central Daylight Time. And again, it is a pretty messy storm. It doesn't look impressive on radar, but again, that's because this is a radar gap area. So we're not getting the lower parts of the storm, but what we can tell is that there is enough of a strong signature for a storm. Let's go to that velocity signature and see if there's anything. Yes, there absolutely is. So ignore the purple as best as you can. What we're seeing here is, go a little bit further north. So what we see here, you see that little bit of green. Because this is so far away from the radar, we're getting this purple signature, which if you disregard that, you would actually have green right here, and then you would have this nice deep purple, which is signifying even stronger winds that are blowing away from the radar, which is down to our south. So again, winds are going this way, but then we have a little small bit that is going in this way, which what that means is that we have this storm that's rotating counterclockwise and it's making its way towards the north, going towards Broken Bow, and it is a very strong signature considering that we're scanning so high up in the atmosphere. So again, if you live anywhere along US 259 and from Broken Bow to DeQueen, you guys are under the gun for this supercell that is producing a confirmed tornado. So again, this is a confirmed tornado, life-threatening situation. So if you live anywhere within this area, we suggest that you seek shelter immediately. So this is a very considerable threat again for those within the southeastern Oklahoma into southwestern Arkansas communities. So now let's take a little further view out and let's go towards this other tornado warning in Arkansas now. So we have another tornado warning in Arkansas. This tornado warning is more so a straight line event. So we have this long line of storms, and what we can have produce tornadoes, we have two things. We have either discrete cells, which we talked about in southeastern Texas and eastern Texas, southeastern Oklahoma, and then we can have storms that are tornadoes that are produced by linear storm mode is basically what we call it, where we have a line of storms, and there's enough spin within this line that we can produce a tornado. Let's go to the velocity. So we can see a little bit of a disagreement between the winds. We can see a little bit of that rotation again. So quite a dangerous situation. Again, this is one of those situations where these tornadoes are hard to predict, leading to very little lead time to prepare. So again, if you're anywhere ahead of this line, Boonville, you guys are the next people to see this storm. And again, it has that couplet, so we are looking at a possibility of a strong storm with a possible tornado in it, making its way towards Boonville. And of course, as it keeps on pushing eastward, more communities in Arkansas will be under the gun. But right now, we're looking at Washburn at 7:11 p.m. Central Daylight Time. Branch, you guys are next. Boonville, like I mentioned, and as well as Driggs and Magazine, you guys a little bit further out, 7:36 p.m. Central Daylight Time. But again, those communities all across Arkansas, you guys are the next up for this line of storms. Oklahoma, you guys have seen a lot of storms today. Luckily, the storms are starting to exit your community, but they're entering now into Oklahoma. But again, we have a lot more severe weather and another tornado warning that's valid for 7:45 p.m. Central Daylight Time. This is for Madison and Washington counties here in Arkansas, just east of Fayetteville, going towards Huntsville. So if you live along US 412, go ahead and seek shelter immediately. If you're driving on that road, find a building that you can hunker down in, whether it be a gas station, whether it be a public building like a library or one of those types of buildings. Find somewhere where you can seek shelter, because this is a life-threatening situation. You do not want to be in a car caught out in this situation. But again, anybody that is east of US 71, you guys are under this gun. Let's get a look at the velocity on this. Oh, but first, before we do that, again, Arnett, you guys are right in the wake of it, and we have more communities just north of Arnett and east of Fayetteville, and you guys are under the gun for the next 30-ish minutes. But yeah, let's go ahead and go to that velocity signature. So we're at the very extent of our radar, so we cannot actually pull it up at the moment. So we'll go back to reflectivity and just talk about the line itself. So again, this strong line of storms, it can produce quick spin-up tornadoes, and that's what we're kind of seeing along the line. And then we have these discrete cells. Again, let's go back down to East Texas, Northeast Texas, and talk about some of the storms here. Oh, let's go down to this one right here. That's valid for 7:30 daylight or Central Daylight Time. Again, it is in counties of Bowie, Cass, and Morris. You guys, this is what we call hook echo. It's a textbook hook echo, actually, where we have this notch. This notch is where we expect the tornado to be. Let's go ahead and turn on velocity and see if there's a spin, and yes, there is. Again, this is high up in the atmosphere, so we're not able to get the best slice of the lower part of the environment. But what we can see from the mid and upper level of the environment is that we can see the spin. Again, that rotation, we have this green and red close together. That signifies a rotation couplet where we have a lot of spin. Where we have a lot of spin, there's a possibility of a tornado. Again, this is tornado warning. That is a very considerable threat for those in south or northeast Texas going towards Arkansas. But again, communities in Maud and Boston, you guys are also under the gun. Let's zoom in even closer on US 67, just so we can see any other communities. Yes, Bassett, you guys are right under the gun immediately. You guys need to go ahead and seek shelter right now. because this storm is making its way to you very quickly. And then Darden, you guys as well, even more urgent. It's going to be there in the matter of 5 minutes, so go ahead and seek shelter immediately, because this signature right here is very evident. And what I mean by that is that we have this dark, or this really bright red, this pink. What that signifies, again, is very strong winds that are going away from the radar. And then we have the green, and even though the green is not as bright, that does still signify that we have a rotation couplet right here, and it's going right along US 67. So if you live anywhere along US 67, going from Naples up towards Arkansas, you guys need to go ahead and seek shelter immediately, because this storm is possibly producing a tornado, and it's a discrete supercell, which means these tornadoes can be massive, these tornadoes can be long-lasting, and they can definitely be devastating. So again, find an interior room of your home, basement, or a tornado shelter if you can. The CC values, it's hard to tell if this is actual observable CC debris, or if it is possibly radar malfunction, because it is on the edge of the radar. However, if we overlay that with the couplet, we can kind of tell that there is a signature that just kind of has been tracking with that couplet. So again, it's not a very defined CC signature, but if we go back to it, we can still speculate that it is possibly a tornado on the ground that's picking up debris. If it is picking up debris from Naples and lofting it in the air. This is possibly people's roofs and their fence line and all this different types of debris. So again, if you guys live anywhere along US 67, this is a possible tornado. It is possibly producing a signature, and it's a debris signature, but it's definitely producing a velocity signature. So again, this is a dangerous supercell that's racing across northeastern Texas and making its way towards Arkansas. Now let's go ahead and zoom out again, look at the bigger picture for real quick. Again, yes, with that couplet. Now when we look more at just eastern Texas in general, they have a lot more of the discrete cells going on. Just briefly, I'll mention these cells off to the south, Aaron. These cells right here, they do not have any warnings on them yet. However, as they feed on that moisture and that warmth, they could develop into these supercells. So again, if you live anywhere along I-20 going towards Arkansas, you guys, or towards Louisiana, you guys are under the gun again because of these possible storms that will develop, or these storms that will possibly develop into supercells. But now let's go back up to Oklahoma, see if there's anything out there to note. Again, yes, there's this strong supercell. It is kind of meshing in with the line at this point, so it's becoming more linear, which means it is starting to break down a little bit, but it's considerable threat, and it is issued for, this tornado warning has been issued for Sevier and as well as McCurtain counties. So until 7:45 p.m. Central Daylight Time. So if you live at all in these communities, this is a dangerous situation. Again, we have that rotation signature that's signifying that we do have a couplet and we do possibly have a tornado. This is actually a part of the same line that did have a confirmed tornado earlier, the same storm that produced a tornado earlier, tornado emergency. So this is still a very dangerous situation, even if it maybe has weakened a little bit. But again, like I mentioned earlier, this is on the edge of our radar coverage. So again, it's hard to tell exactly what the storm is doing because we're only getting a view of the top of the storm. So we cannot tell you for certain that it is not producing a tornado. What we can say is that it's possibly because we have this radar or this couplet. So again, if you guys live anywhere north of US 70 and east of or anywhere along US 59, you guys are all under the gun for a possible tornado that is making its way into Arkansas, exiting Oklahoma. So let's take a more of a bigger view again. With these long lines of storms, this will continue for the next several hours and continue to cause mischief between Texas all the way into Arkansas and Louisiana. So this is a dangerous situation for everybody involved, and it stretches pretty far north. Right now, our radar coverage really just is for Oklahoma and Texas, but it even goes towards almost Missouri, this line of storms, and we can see that by looking at this tornado warning again that's issued for western Arkansas, east of Fayetteville. So if you guys live in the counties Madison, Washington, you guys are under that risk for a tornado. So you're in a tornado warning. That means that you guys need to go ahead and take cover immediately, get into the interior room of your home and seek shelter. And again, when I say interior room of your home, I mean the first floor interior room of your home, away from windows, away from anything that can possibly cause even more damage, because with a tornado, the main threat is all that debris that it picks up and slams towards you. This debris, we've seen pictures and videos of different types of objects that normally would never hurt you, like a piece of straw that can pierce steel, because of the velocity that the storm picks up, or the tornado picks up that piece of debris and throws it at these pieces of steel, pieces of drywall. Hopefully not you. So again, if you are at all within this tornado warning, this is a threat for you. And if you live along US 412, this line of storms is making its way quickly across Arkansas, and it's going to continue to cause heavy rain, straight line wind damage, but also that tornado threat. And again, it's just a widespread event for everybody from eastern Arkansas all the way back down into Oklahoma and Texas. Let's go ahead and go over to a more bird's eye view, actually, of just the event. And again, these lines of supercells, they're all mostly across northeastern Texas at this point, but they're making their way towards Arkansas, exiting Oklahoma. So again, this is a lot of storms. And if you see this yellow polygon, this yellow polygon tells you that this is a tornado watch. What is a tornado watch? That means that we have the ingredients for tornadoes, and right now we do definitely see that these ingredients are being put together. And what I mean by ingredients, I mean moisture, I mean spin. We're talking a lot about this rotation. And then, of course, talking about lifting mechanisms. This is a cold front that is continuing to push a lot of convection, and these storms are just popping up, and they're causing a lot of danger, a lot of a very serious dangerous situation. So I'm going to toss things over to Robert to continue the cover.
Right. Thank you, Chandler. Okay, we are watching a tornado event underway. Now here it is going to be continuing. We still have several tornado warnings in effect. Right now, this one for northeastern Texas on I-30. We have this one down here for Camp Cass, Morris, and Upshur counties. That one's until 7:45 Central Time. Again, the time up here is in Eastern Time, so this is not the current time for Texas and Oklahoma. Down here it is going to be 7:45 Central Time for that tornado warning. I'd like to go up to the one just north of that one so we can get that one as well. This one is for Bowie, Cass, and Morris counties. This one has an observed tag on it and a considerable threat. And it means that this tornado has been spotted on the ground and it's dangerous. Any of these tornado warnings, you need to be going into your lowest level, into your room as soon as possible, because all of these pose a considerable threat. Let's move to the one just north of that one, make sure everyone's getting covered here. We're going through each of the tornado warnings on the map here as well. This one, of course, is moving off towards the north-northeast. It will intersect US 82 just east of DeKalb and northwest of Texarkana. That is that tornado right there, and it's, again, observed and considerable. We can move on to the one in southeast Oklahoma just to cover that one as well. That is, again, just north of this one right here. Yep, that one right there. This one is northeast of Idabel. It's in McCurtain County and also Sevier County in Arkansas. This one's radar indicated and considerable. That means that we don't have that kind of confirmation that's on the ground anymore, but just treat it as it is. This tornado has a long track history of producing previous tornadoes in Texas and had a tornado emergency with it earlier in McCurtain County. Made its way through Idabel, and now it's making its way close to Broken Bow. So we're still very concerned about that tornado as it makes its way out towards the north and east. So again, if you're in this tornado, take it as if it is on the ground right now, even if it isn't. We still think it might be, you know, actually, if you could switch to velocity here, I just want to see how it looks at the moment. And there you go, that's your circulation right there. Those reds and greens, where they line up, that's where we see that circulation in the storm, and that's where you have the best guess for what could be a tornado on the ground. Again, this is a long track circulation going all the way from central eastern Texas up through Broken Bow and McCurtain County, looks to cross the state line here within the next 5 to 10 minutes. So if you're anywhere in eastern McCurtain County, east of Broken Bow, you need to be inside that lowest level interior room right now. Okay, let's zoom out here and just see there. I believe there's one near Fort Smith as well, and another tornado warning north of this one. Yes, that one off towards the north. Just zoom out a little bit more. Yeah, that's just the extension of it in Arkansas. Yeah, this one up towards the north here. Yeah, it's Franklin and Sebastian counties. This one's radar indicated. So east of Fort Smith City, Fort Smith, you are okay. That is all clear for you so far. Might see some storms behind this one act up for you, so don't let your guard down in Fort Smith, but this one is not immediately impacting the city of Fort Smith. North of Boonville, that's where we're looking for this storm right here. Moving off towards the north and east, that's our major concern until 7:45 Central Time. So Franklin and Sebastian counties, you need to be inside your lowest level interior rooms immediately as well. So those are the tornado warning storms we are watching right now. If we could just zoom out, get a bigger view, see what's going on here. And we also have, I want to emphasize, we do have this tornado threat that's going on, but we also have a flash flood threat. All of these maroon warnings off towards the north and west of these primary supercells, those are flash flood warnings. And if you're anywhere behind this line, you are going to see potentially devastating flash floods for smaller creeks and streams. So make sure if you're driving anywhere in these areas, potentially looking through debris, going to pick up clean up outside of your homes, walking around, you need to be taking precautions as you're driving through smaller roads, smaller streams that aren't maintained as well, that could potentially have some high moving flash floods through it. And even only 6 inches can move a truck or a car. So make sure, again, if you see any rushing water on roads or streams, stay away from that. Turn around, don't drown. So those are those flash flood warnings until 8:30 Central Time, so about an hour from now, that's when those will expire. We also have a severe thunderstorm warning until Friday at 7:45 Central Time. That's this storm off to the north here in Arkansas. And again, these severe thunderstorms, even though they don't pose an immediate tornado threat, you need to treat them as if they are still very, very heavy storms. They can pose large hail, damaging winds up to 60, 70, 80 miles per hour in some cases, which is almost equivalent to a weak tornado. And in this environment, you can never be too sure that a tornado could quickly spin up right after the severe thunderstorm warning is issued. So that's the state of play here in southeastern Oklahoma, western Arkansas, and far northeastern Texas. We do still have those 2 or 3 severe thunderstorm and tornado warnings in northeastern Texas. For those of you in Dallas and on the I-35 corridor, looks all clear for you at the moment. That cold front has moved through. Unfortunately, Texarkana, you're now under the gun. So if we could zoom back in here, these 2 storms we've been watching all the way from when they were south of the city of Waco, and they've been making their way off towards the north and east. And this one right here, just west of Boston, and it's in Bowie, Cass, and Morris counties. Again, this is the one that was observed and has a considerable tag on it. You see this area right here, where's that little indent? That's what we call a bounded weak echo region. That means those winds are rushing into that area and potentially adding a system of rotation, which feeds this tornado and makes it potentially more likely to strengthen. As it's moving towards the city of Boston, you need to be in that lowest level interior room immediately, anywhere in Bowie, Cass, and Morris counties. It is making its way, sorry?
PDS tornado.
Yeah, is it this one?
For Little River County, Arkansas, Bowie County, Arkansas.
Okay, so zoom out. It is going to be probably this one. I'm not exactly as familiar with my Arkansas counties, apologies, but is either this, yeah, it's the one to the south. Yeah, the one closer to Mena. Or no, it's not actually, that's Montgomery, Pine, and Polk counties. It's probably, is there, yeah, I don't believe there is one. Yeah, just go back down to the south. It's going to be that one to the south, and that's the only other one in Arkansas. Yeah, here's your Bowie and Little River counties here. That is going to be observed and considerable. So that is that storm that we've been following through Boston. It's going through Boston. It's basically paralleling I-30 right now. So if you're driving on I-30 towards the city of Texarkana, you need to be stopping off on one of these cities before the circulation. I'm going to move off so you can see here. Drive off I-30 before you get to this point, because it will be dangerous to be on the road while that tornado is crossing. Again, it's been observed. This is a tornado on the ground. It's not just a radar indicated. Dangerous situation towards the city of Boston. This is your circulation right here. Those greens and reds, very bright, wrapping up. That means we have that tornado not just potential, but on the ground right there, a considerable threat. So again, moving towards the north at Boston. Can we put a track on this just to see over the next 30 to 40 minutes what cities are in the line of fire for this tornado? If we can just name some of these cities, make sure people know what's going on around here. Again, Boston, the major one in the line of threat for this storm. Old Boston, again, this is New Boston. So Old Boston, New Boston, if you're from that area. 733 for Old Boston, 736 for Boston, 746 for Burns, 749 for Barkman, and 758 for Richmond. And by that point, it should make its way across the border into Arkansas. City of Texarkana, you should be in the clear from this storm. It's moving off towards the north and east, so it likely will not impact the city of Texarkana, but I don't want to say definitively it won't, because these tornadoes can shift, they can make turns. So if you're in Texarkana, you still need to be watching the storms, still need to be watching the weather, making sure you are ready to respond if need be. So right there, that's what we call a TDS, or tornado debris signature. What we have on here is correlation coefficient. Basically what this product is showing is where we have potential debris from a tornado. Where you see those lighter colors right here in a circular ball, that is a very high indicator, not just a high indicator, but almost a guarantee that that is tornado debris. And when we see that on top of the reflectivity, that's when you have that observed rating from the National Weather Service. That means that this is a damaging tornado on the ground, lofting this debris well high up into the air that the radar can detect it. And now it's moving off towards the northeast. Seems like it's making a little bit more of a jog towards the north. Again, this is lagged from the actual tornado a little bit because this is the debris, but it's making a little jog off towards the north, Bowie, Little River counties, and Texas. Again, make sure you are inside your lowest level interior room. Pull off the road if you're on I-30. And if you're going west towards Boston, you're going towards Hooks, pull off the road. If you're going east towards Boston, pull off the road before you get to this tornado. You don't want to be in a car or a mobile home when this tornado is making its way towards your city. And also, quick aside, if you're in a mobile home and you are not immediately in the line of fire for this tornado, what you need to do is go find a sturdier structure to take shelter. And if you have about 15-30 minutes, go somewhere quickly and fast. Go to that area where you can shelter in, because a mobile home is not appropriate shelter for a tornado. It will be damaging if it hits a mobile home, and it will likely not be survivable. So what you need to do, tornado emergency for which one? For this one?
For New Boston Hooks.
Yeah, for New Boston. So again, New Boston's the city right here. We also have Old Boston. This tornado debris signature is making its way off towards the north and east. This is a very damaging situation. It's starting to get towards 7:31 Central Time, so it's going to be darker outside. You can't see this tornado. You need to not try and find where it's going to be. If you're anywhere in this polygon, particularly near the cities of Boston, New Boston, you need to be inside your lowest level interior room immediately. What we circled here is this very, very large debris ball. It is definitely on the ground, certainly a tornado, and this is one of the largest debris balls I've seen in a while. This is very damaging. It is not a good situation if you are anywhere close to I-30. You need to get off the road, close to Hooks. If you're driving west from Texarkana going to Dallas, you need to not continue on I-30. Just pull off the road before you get there. This is a life-threatening and catastrophic situation. And I'm not using a hyperbole with these word choices here. This is exactly what the National Weather Service has named this threat as. It is a catastrophic tornado moving off towards the north and east. Here's Texas 8. Here's US 82, here's Interstate 30. If you are anywhere going Texas 8 south, across the border from Arkansas, you need to pull off before you get to the border from Arkansas. If you're going south from Arkansas, pull off before you get to the state of Texas. This is going to cross a little bit after you get through Texas, so you don't want to be on Texas 8 when that tornado makes its way through there. And right there, those reds and greens, that's that tornado signature we are watching here. Boston, it's moving its way a little bit to the west of you, but I want you to still be inside your safe spaces, because this is too close for comfort and it is too worrying to just say, well, it's a little bit to the west, we can be fine now. It's still too close for comfort. You want to stay inside those lowest level interior rooms right now, moving its way off towards the north and east. Again, this is a tornado emergency. The National Weather Service doesn't use that language lightly. We've only seen one in the last actually few months, and it has been the other one tonight, which we saw in Idabel, and that was a little bit towards the north and west of here. They don't issue those often. That means that they have a particular dangerous situation for this tornado, and because it's at night and heading a populated area in the city of New Boston here, that's a major concern for us. That's why the National Weather Service has issued that tornado emergency. Again, here's your circulation right here. It's until 8 o'clock p.m., so we have about 30 minutes left in this warning here. Counties are Bowie and Little River. The source is observed and the threat is catastrophic. We're going to get you through this. We're going to let you know where this tornado is going. It's moving off towards the north and east. Going to be crossing I-30 here soon within the next few minutes. And let's zoom out a little bit more here, just get some city names on the map, just a little bit, well, a little bit in now, so we just can see some of the city names here. Just a little bit further in. Yes, exactly. So Ashdown, Boston, if we could zoom in a little further, just on the area a little closer to the Arkansas-Texas border, just so we can get a few more city names on the map that I can name, just so those of you in the path know what to do. Foreman, it's a little bit to the east of you, but I still want you to be in your lowest level interior rooms because it's a dangerous situation. Zoom in a little bit further just so we can get some more city names on here. Yes, this is Arkansas 41. So if you're heading on Arkansas 41 towards Texas 8, you need to pull off before you get to the Texas state line. That is going to be a dangerous situation. Arden, Arkansas 32 between Ashdown and, if you can move that little box out of the way, it's between Foreman and Ashdown. Arden, Wilton, that's another city that's going to be in the path. You need to be inside those lowest level interior rooms immediately. This is a dangerous situation. You don't have time to wait. Just get your family and your friends and go inside. What I would say is best is a closet or a bathroom on your first floor. Most of you in this area don't have basements. If you do, great. That's the best place to go. Second best, on your first floor, try and find a closet or a bathroom that's as far from the outside walls. You want to put as much space between you and the tornado as possible. With a damaging tornado like this, you don't have a lot of time to react. You need to go there now. Chandler, do you have some more information for us?
Well, just to show you what a confirmed tornado can do, we have this report out of the earlier tornado that you were mentioning in Oklahoma that was confirmed. This is what can happen with a very serious tornado. Again, this is one of those types of situations where whenever you see a tornado emergency or tornado warning, this is what you can expect to find after the wake of the supercell. So again, this is a very unfortunate situation to see, but it is one that happens. And again, like Robert mentioned, these types of supercells can be very erratic. So even if you're not immediately right next to the tornado signature, you're still under the gun. So again, if you're in that tornado warning area that Robert was mentioning, it's definitely a serious situation for you. And again, tornado warnings all across eastern Texas into southwestern Arkansas, southeastern Oklahoma. You guys are still not out of the clear yet until that line of storms finally pushes out of the area. And the Storm Prediction Center is echoing that concern again. Tornado threat continues to shift northeast. Confirmed large and dangerous tornadoes are ongoing. That is a very strongly worded message for a very serious situation. Again, this is for northeastern Texas, southeastern Oklahoma, getting into Arkansas and Louisiana. This is starting to become Arkansas's problem and Louisiana's problem. But Texas, you guys still have a lot of tornado warnings and a tornado on the ground as it moves towards Arkansas. Oklahoma, you guys are still not out of the clear until that line of storms finally pushes out of your area. Again, the discussion continues to talk about how radar trends are uptick and have seen upticks in intensity across this Arkansas, Louisiana, and Texas region. And so again, a lot of confirmed tornadoes. We have a lot of people that are basically trying to get us footage because of this radar gap. We actually have a radar gap in this exact area. And one of the issues is we cannot necessarily see for certain if there is a signature. Sometimes we are, luckily, like Robert was mentioning with New Boston, Texas, it was very clear what the signature looked like, and NWS was able to warn for it. But this type of thing can occur for weaker storms that do not show up high in the atmosphere, and that's all we are seeing right now. We're not getting to see the lower levels of the atmosphere as well because the radars are so far away. So we have these storm chasers that are going around and collecting all this observable information. So we're still being able to tell you guys about this serious situation because we have multiple different ways of getting this information to you. But again, this is a very dangerous situation for everybody involved, all the way across, again, northeastern Texas, southwestern Arkansas, Louisiana. You guys are in the sites of this storm as well. And Oklahoma, you guys are not out of the clear yet. But again, unfortunate situation. We've had 4 tornado reports and multiple reports of wind. So we have mentioned a lot about tornadoes, and that's the main threat. But of course, wind can do a lot of damage as well with the straight-lined wind problem west of the supercells. Because right now we're looking at the supercells ahead of the line, but the line right behind them also can produce a lot of wind and even some hail. These supercells have been producing hail as well. And so again, it's a very dangerous situation in general for everybody in northeastern Texas, Oklahoma, and now it's becoming Arkansas and Louisiana's problem as well. So again, we have a lot of information coming out of these states. Again, a lot of people talking about how unfortunate the situation is. Decent amount of people have been trying to take pictures, but these are storm chasers. These are not your residents. Residents, get inside. That is what we ask. Again, these are very dangerous supercells, and they can produce very strong storms. And right now we're really looking at northeastern Texas. But we're going to shift over to the wall for a second, and we're going to just continue to harp on the dangerous situation that is in New Boston. Actually, we will continue to be on this wall for a second more and discuss the serious situation in play. So again, the tornado warnings are all across this area. Specifically though, Arkansas, you guys are now seeing all these tornado warnings. But again, we have this tornado emergency in northeastern Arkansas, and it's a confirmed tornado, again, like we mentioned, and it had a very strong signature earlier when we were showing that to you. And again, this is the type of situation that can be produced by these storms. Let's see if we have any more information. Tornado emergency declared as large and extremely destructive tornadoes move towards Idaho. That was 44 minutes ago. Again, that was that storm. So we're looking at a different storm now, but this storm has been producing, or this situation has been producing a lot of dangerous tornadoes. And again, this was a tornado emergency 11 minutes ago that was valid until 8 p.m. Central Daylight Time. So now we're getting closer to the expiration date, but we still are not out of the clear in that regard. So again, dangerous situation, but to break it down more in detail, Robert, can you look over this tornado emergency?
Right, again, we do have this tornado emergency. It's going to be for Little River and Bowie counties. Again, right here, this is what we're watching for. It is very close to crossing the Texas-Arkansas border, and this is just for reference. This is the this is the red river right here. Texas-Arkansas border, Texas-Oklahoma border, and here's Oklahoma, just to give you a little orientation of where you are. This is the storm right here. The circulation is going to be somewhere in this area. This is where we're concerned about. Ashdown, US 59, that is an area where you need to be inside your lowest level interior room right now. Texarkana, you're in the clear. Interstate 30, you're also in the clear. City of Boston as well, though we do have some storms behind it that you still need to be watching out for. So you're in the clear with respect to this storm, but not with respect to tonight. We do still have, sadly, some more storms that are on the way for this area. We hope to see them decreasing in intensity, though, over the next few hours. We'll see how that holds up. As for now, that is not happening. They're still holding strength, and in fact, some of them are gaining strength. Like this one here, still moving off towards the north and east. Let's see what the Weather Service has to say about it. It's going to be expiring until 8 o'clock p.m. It is going to be a confirmed large and extremely dangerous tornado, and it's for New Boston, 8 miles north of New Boston, moving northeast at 50 miles per hour. It's a particularly dangerous situation, and it is going to be radar confirmed because of that correlation coefficient. So here's the circulation. If I'm going to hold my finger right here, if you could just switch the correlation coefficient while I hold my finger just so we can see. And that is a very textbook large debris ball. You don't want to see that. That means that in the way of this tornado, some people's lives have just been permanently changed. You don't want to see that. And if you're in the way of this tornado, you want to take this tornado seriously, because this is one that has already done damage across this path. Moving off towards the north and east, Ashdown, you are right in the center of that. You need to be taking cover now, even though it is right on the Texas-Oklahoma border. You have about 5-10 minutes of lead time. You need to be taking cover now. You don't need to be taking that time for granted. It is going to be moving off towards the north and east. Foreman, you're also towards the west of that. still take cover. And we also have the city of Wallace right there. So some more cities in the path: Wallace, Ardeen, and Alin. 754 for Wallace, 757 for Ardeen, and 803 for Alin. So Ardeen, excuse me. As we move off towards the north and east, this is the very large debris ball. This lags the tornado just a little bit because the debris is not entirely over the circulation. Circulation is a little bit closer to the Texas-Oklahoma border, but it's still moving off towards the north and east. So let's still make sure we're covering everyone. We'll go from north to south. Right now we have a tornado. It is confirmed tornado from Montgomery, Pike, and Polk counties off towards just go a little further north towards Fort Smith here. Yeah, go all the way to the north. It is going to be halfway between Fort Smith and Clarksville and Russellville. It is going to be in this area here, and we'll get you it's Logan. Apologies for the radar coverage. This radar is a little bit far out of beam here, but Boonville, this is a tornado warning. It is going to be a confirmed tornado. Let's get some details on it here. This tornado warning remains in effect until 8 p.m. Central Time for northwestern Pike, Polk, and southwestern Montgomery counties. This is a confirmed tornado, and it is located 10 miles west of Gillum. So it is moving off towards the north and east. You can see it's a little bit choppy here, the warning. It's just because it's on the line with several National Weather Service offices, so they're all trying to appropriately cover it, in their own separate areas here. They're coordinating with each other, making sure this tornado warning is accurate for the area it serves. But yes, this is a large tornado warning. It includes, if you can move the thing up just a little bit so I can see so Ozark, US 64, Interstate 40. This is a tornado warning, and it is confirmed. So that will be continuing. If you need to be taking cover now, taking shelter now for that tornado. And let's go further south. So this is the one in Logan, excuse me. I was reading off the details for the one to the south of it. This one right here. The one to the north, that's Logan, it's also tornado confirmed. This one is additionally tornado confirmed. It's for Howard County. There's another one for Montgomery, Pike, and Polk counties. It is radar indicated, and it is observed. So this one's radar indicated, this one's observed. It's a little bit of semantic difference. Either way, treat this as if it's on the ground. It's going to be until 8 p.m. Central Time, zooming off towards the north and east. This is US 59, city of Mena. This is the Ouachita Mountains just behind me here. City of Muddy Fork, Wicks. Anywhere in this box right here, you need to be taking those precautions immediately. You are in danger, imminent danger from this tornado. It is earlier confirmed on the ground, not really here in this box, but it was still confirmed at one point. We'll try and find out if it's still confirmed in this next update for this tornado warning whenever that comes out. But either way, you need to treat it as if it is. City of Mena, you're a little bit off towards the north, but you still need to be taking those precautions because it's still dangerous for you. Wicks, right immediately in the path. You don't have any more time. If you haven't taken those precautions yet, which they are, go inside your lowest level into your room. If you have a basement, great. I know many of you don't in this area. So if you're in the city of Vandervoort, Baker Springs, Dallas, Arkansas, Board Camp, and Big Fork, any of those cities from 747 to 812, you need to be taking your shelter in those areas right now. Again, Dallas, Arkansas, Big Fork, Vandervoort, and Baker Springs, those are cities in the path. You need to be going inside a first floor closet or bathroom as close to the center of the house as possible. Put as much room between you and this tornado as you can possibly get. And if you're outside, if you're driving, say, on US 59, you're driving close to Baker Springs, you don't know what to do, if you can find a gas station to go inside, a restaurant, a building, a church, whatever you can find to get inside, that's going to be way safer than staying on the road. Because if you're on the road in a car, it's going to be very dangerous for you, just about as dangerous as if you were in a mobile home. Again, earlier I said for those in a mobile home, if you have 15, 20 minutes to get outside and go find a sturdier cinder block, some foundational structure to go inside, that's going to be way safer for you. Mobile home is not a place you want to be in during a tornado. That is going to be fatal. You don't want to be inside a mobile home. So try and avoid that if all possible. Anywhere in this warning, you need to be inside that lowest level interior room. So we've covered the two in Arkansas. Well, these two top ones in Arkansas. The one in Texas has now been extended into Arkansas, so we'll continue to cover that one as well, just a little bit further south. That is the tornado emergency we've been following. Again, they don't use that designation lightly. That means that this is a tornado that is life-threatening, fatal, and it is considerable damage expected with this tornado. I want to just go back with that striking image on correlation coefficient if we can, just to show that to our viewers. And still, even what it's now been 10 or 15 frames, which is several minutes, this debris ball is still persisting. That means that there was a lot of damage done near the city of New Boston, and it's continuing towards the north and east, towards the city of Ashdown. You need to be taking those precautions. It's basically kind of paralleling Arkansas 41, right now on the Red River, Texas, Arkansas state line. If we could go back to the circulation, the velocity here, just so I can point out where it is. So it's going to be somewhere in this area right here where you see these pinks a little bit brighter. That's what we're watching for that tornadic circulation. Bowie, Little River counties, it's observed and it's considerable. Again, Bowie's the one in Texas, Little River is the one here in Arkansas. So we're watching this tornado as it's moving off towards the north and east. City of Foreman, I would say, it's taking a little bit of a jog more towards the north. So Ashdown, still take those precautions. I'm not saying it's all clear for you at all. City of Foreman, though, you need to be inside your lowest level interior room immediately. This is a very dangerous situation. Get inside. Put just as much space as you can between you and the tornado as possible. It will help save your life. And I want to say something just broadly. If you're watching this, you're from the area, but you're not under the gun immediately, or you're not even from the area, but you know people who are, tell them, let them know. Even if you think it might be too late, it's not. You might save a life. So text your family, text your friends, let them know, hey, if you even don't know where they are, you don't know if they're under the gun for a tornado right now, just text them anyway. Let them know there is a severe weather event going on. Please be watching your local news because this is a dangerous weather event. So if you are anywhere in this area, you know someone that might be in this area, just let them know. Even if they aren't from immediately where these tornadoes are and you've bugged them, you've woke them up, it's worth saving a life for the potential that there is that they are under the gun for a tornado. So again, Foreman, Ashdown, US 59, this is the immediate area of concern for this tornado emergency. I want to go back to my computer here just to see if there have been any updates on the tornado emergency, and feel free to yell anything out if they update anything on these. But again, it's until 8 p.m. Central Time, Little River, Central Bowie counties, and it is considerable. So that is what we have for here, and I believe they just issued a new one behind it. I would be, well, let's see. So it hasn't updated here, but I think it is.
They have issued a radar confirmed. Nope, never mind. They have not. They continue to confirm it though because of the debris signature.
Yeah, so it's radar indicated. It's until 8:15. So this is probably not an emergency, but even if it isn't, this one has been on a storm with an emergency. So it's still life-threatening. You need to be taking this situation seriously. We know there was a tornado earlier, still might be on the ground right now. Just treat it as if it is. And whenever we say these things, we're like, oh, there might be a tornado on the ground. There could be. Always in this situation, treat it as if it is. It will take you 5 minutes to get to your bathroom with your family and friends. You know, put on your pillows, put on your bike helmets, put on your shoes. Just go there quickly. When we say those kind of things, just take those precautions. It will take 5 minutes to get there. You'll wait in your room for maybe a half hour, and that's taken 45 minutes out of your day. It is way better to have done that and the tornado didn't hit you than, you know, I really don't want to do that right now. I think I'm going to pass, and unfortunately say it does impact you. This is a very dangerous situation. All of these tornadoes, even if they aren't an emergency, even if they aren't a particularly dangerous situation, they are a dangerous situation to you. So please, 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 don't take these situations too lightly. Take them seriously, and no matter where you are, please take those precautions when we tell you to, because when it's dark outside, even if it isn't, but when it's dark outside like this, it is a very bad situation. So don't take these too lightly. Please take those precautions. So this one's Bowie Little River. If we could zoom out a little bit and go a little further south, we do still have two more in Texas that are ongoing. This one right here for Bowie, Cass, and Morris. Again, this is Bowie County right here. So if we're naming Bowie County, you have New Boston here, Texarkana to your west. This is Bowie County right here. If you're anywhere in Bowie County and you're hearing that, oh, this tornado's gone out of Bowie County, well, you have one coming into Bowie County now. So Bowie and Cass, here's the city of Atlanta, Texas, just for those of you watching who aren't from the area. 59, US 59, so US 67, US 259. It's city of Mount Pleasant. You are clear from this tornado, but it is right here, this box right here, Bowie and Cass until 8:30 p.m. Central Time. It's been observed. So we know this tornado is on the ground. I would say if you could put on velocity real quickly so I can see where exactly it is. And it's a little bit harder to tell here, but we do know this is it's somewhere in this area where you see these pinks and these greens. The circulation is somewhere in that area. Very high winds, very tight, well, I wouldn't say tight, but a very high wind circulation somewhere in this area, and it's been observed. So this is enough to tell you that if you're anywhere in this area, and if we could zoom in just a little bit, get some city names here, just so you know, you have to be taking those precautions immediately. So Douglasville, Marietta, Texas 77, Texas 8, you need to be taking those precautions immediately. Go inside your lowest level interior room, put as much space between you and the tornado as possible. Chandler.
Right, I just want to butt in real quick and report that main debris for New Boston, Texas is west of the city, main downtown city. The debris, though, is across I-30 eastbound, and all those lanes are impassable. So if you guys are trying to go east on I-30, you will not be able to, which we do not recommend at the moment anyway, because the line of storms is still trying to push through the area. We also have been talking about this tornado that was in New Boston, and, well, we have a picture of it. This is from 15 minutes ago, so things change very rapidly with tornadoes, but that's a really big tornado. The debris ball signature on this thing was 3 miles wide at one point, or at least with one of the supercells. So again, this is one of those situations that you do not want to see, especially close to these big, huge communities that we have on the Texas-Arkansas border. So again, not a good situation. It's one of those big tornadoes that we call a wedge tornado. And it's hard to see at night, very hard to see. And obviously, we hope that the storm chasers are staying safe as they try to get us observable information so that we can then pass it along to you guys in the public. But again, this is a bad situation, especially for those that live in east of New Boston, Texas. So let's talk about some reports real quick. So we've had multiple reports. Again, we've had several tornadoes confirmed on the ground so far. A lot of them have been caught by our chasers. So we want to report 6 tornadoes as well as 12 wind reports. So again, it's a very tornadic type event. We've had a lot of tornadoes all clustered together within that northeastern Texas area into southeastern Oklahoma, like that little border, or that border that they share on the river. But again, really bad situation, and it's going to continue to push into Arkansas. Like we mentioned, we had a confirmed tornado in New Boston, and that supercell is pushing its way into Arkansas. And once it gets into Arkansas, that does not mean that it necessarily dies out. It might continue to push through Arkansas. So if you guys live within anywhere within that southwest Arkansas, the line of storms is pushing your way. In fact, when we look at the radar, it's just now it's making its way actually really into Arkansas. We have a decent amount of warnings. Most all of them at this point are for Arkansas, except for once we get into the southern, or the more southern part of the area we've been looking at, into northeastern Texas and just eastern Texas. In fact, I mentioned earlier these these possible supercells that would develop from the showers off to the south in East Texas. Now we have 2 tornado warnings, in fact, down there in East Texas that are also showing signs of being just as bad as the supercells that we've seen earlier this evening. So again, not a good situation for those in East Texas, Northeast Texas, and for those that are in Southwest Arkansas as this system pushes its way into the state. But again, this is a very dangerous situation. As the Storm Prediction Center has talked about, they highlighted that this exact region is the main region under the gun for very serious tornadoes, and that is going to continue along for the rest of the evening into close to 8 p.m. right now, Central Daylight Time, but we can expect that they'll continue to put out more of these mesoscale discussions talking about the ongoing situation as it pushes its way into Arkansas and into Louisiana. But again, not a good situation for those that live in the area. In fact, I just want to break it down for you real quick and say that there's a few things that we normally look for when we're looking for these types of storms, these supercells. We're looking at CAPE, and right now I wanted to just show you guys the CAPE values, which is convective available potential energy. It is just a term meant to say that there's a lot of juice for the storm. And right now, there's a lot of juice for the storms in eastern Texas. That's why we're seeing a lot of these supercells pop off, because they are able to take in that energy and convert it into convection, convert it into these spinny supercells that basically produce these wedge tornadoes. But that's kind of what the situation we've been looking at. And Robert, you're going to break us down a little more in depth why this is such a bad situation for these locals.
Yes, unfortunately, if you go to the far north part of Arkansas, we do have a new tornado warning that's been issued here for Boone County, and it's going to be northwest of Harrison. So again, Carroll and Boone counties is what we have right here. This is the Boone part, and then this is the Carroll part. It's until Friday at 8:15. So again, the clock up here, if you've just joined us, our clock is at Eastern Time. We're broadcasting from our studios in Tallahassee, but 8:15 Central Time. Take off an hour from that, 7:59 Central Time. So we do have a little bit of a 15-20 minute warning here with this storm, and it's moving off towards the north and east. Bentonville, Fayetteville, you're fine. You are not under the gun for this storm, but Diamond City, Harrison, Berryville on our radar, just loading in here. Give it a few minutes as it does so. Diamond City, Harrison, you're under a severe thunderstorm warning for just damaging wind gusts and hail. But this tornadic threat is sort of on the back end here. You can almost say it a back end vortice. That's what we're concerned here. So when you hear sort of this back end area, this is the area we're concerned about. You have that kind of that rotation on the back, this little circular area. That's where we could be concerned about a tornado developing in that area. So just if we could quickly zoom out and yes, exactly right there. That is the velocity for that tornado. If we go all the way down south, there's one more tornado warning we haven't gotten to yet, and it is this one. These are tornado warnings we had previously, but we just didn't cover quite as much. So this one's Cherokee, Nacogdoches, and Rusk counties. It's until 8:30 p.m. Central Time. This is just one sort of system here, but it's almost split into two supercells now. So we have two tornado warnings here. So Rusk, you're fine, but Cushing, Langeville, and Henderson, you are right in that path of that tornado, or these two tornadoes really here. So that's what we're concerned about. And these areas, we're seeing these storms continue to persist. We're concerned about this threat here. So 84, Langeville, and Henderson, we are concerned for you. You need to be taking those precautions, going inside those lowest level interior rooms as soon as possible. So again, we have these two tornado warnings here. Very concerned for those of you, Cherokee, Rusk counties, and Cherokee, and also Nacogdoches counties here. Again, city of Rusk, you are fine. You are not under the immediate threat for this tornado. Now, if we can zoom out, go back towards Texarkana, we do have, I believe, a new tornado warning for close to the city of Texarkana, yes. This is in a little bit of a concerning position, as you can see. Actually, excuse me, this is not a new tornado warning, but it's one we had previously. There's been so many it's hard to keep track of, unfortunately. But it's moving off towards the north and east. City of Marietta, City of Atlanta, a little bit of a concerning position for the southern suburbs of Texarkana. So again, you have the loop here, the 69 loop here. This is the suburbs to the south here. I'm a little bit concerned for you because the track of this storm, if it's to continue off towards the north and east, it would pose a threat to you. Right now, not in that tornado warning, but please take those precautions. Please be ready if you need to go inside a room in the center lowest part of your house. So Marietta, Atlanta, Texas, right here is that circulation we're concerned about. Northeast of Hughes Springs, that you're fine. There's no need for you to take precaution right now. Just a lot of wind and rain for you, but here is that circulation as it moves off towards the north and east. So again, we have 4 confirmed tornado warnings right now, 4. That means there is this one right here. It's been observed. This is this circulation right here, and I would say right in this tight area where you have those reds and greens really wrapping into each other, those really bright colors, that's what we're concerned about for that potential tornado. And if we could go to correlation coefficient here just to really see if there's anything, and that could be a debris ball. It's really, if we could, I'm going to hold my finger here. Yeah, just keep that as it is. If you could switch back to velocity, and we could see if it really lines up. That's pretty close. That could be a debris ball right there. So again, very concerned about this situation. It could be lofting debris into the air right now. If you're right now just northeast of Marietta, Douglasville, you need to be inside a lowest level interior room. If you know anyone from Douglasville, you're in Douglasville. Be inside that restroom or that closet that's as far from the outside walls of your house as possible. That gives you the best chance of getting it through this tornado because it will put walls and objects between you, which is safe. And I also want to emphasize something. Bathrooms have plumbing in the walls, which provides a little bit extra support than other rooms. So if you're able to find a bathroom that's at the center of your house, that's a pretty ideal situation. A little bit less ideal than a basement, which is the best scenario for you, but it's second, and it will do about as well for you in this situation. If you don't have a basement, obviously, that's not an option. So bathroom with those pipes and those walls is a very good situation for you. Again, Douglasville, this is Texas 77, this is Texas 8. O'Farrell, please be inside that room right now, that shelter that you've already scoped out. Please go there right now with your family and your friends. It's a dangerous situation. And zooming off towards the north and east, here's your county line right here, and then US 59 all the way over here close to Domino. So very, very concerning situation. We have Maud as well, US 67, that intersection here. Here's a track that we're going to put on now. Douglasville, Redwater, and Red Springs, those are cities of immediate concern with this tornado. Friday at 8:30 is when this tornado warning expires. Douglasville, Redwater, Red Springs. I want to point out the track of this tornado takes it right towards the southern suburbs of Texarkana. So if you're in Texarkana, you need to be preparing to go inside that lowest level interior room if needed. Again, I don't want to cause unnecessary worry here. We're here to get you through this. We're not here to worry you, but I don't want to also play down the situation. This is a observed tornado on the ground, has what looks like a debris ball on it. Dangerous situation. We want to make sure everyone in the path is properly prepared for this. So we have those tornado warnings. I think we've gone down the line now, and we do have, yes, so most of the line to the west of these storms, we could just zoom out all the way just to get a bit of a wider view of what's going on. So what we had earlier today is we had a dry line and a cold front intersecting here in the southern plains around the Texoma area. When this dry line moved its way further towards the east, towards the Metroplex, that's when we started seeing these storms really starting to spin. We saw a few to the south of DFW, one basically in Metro DFW in Rockwall County, and a few off towards the north towards Sherman and Denison. These storms are some of these that we're still seeing today, right now, that have moved off towards the north and east. A few more moved towards the south, a little bit north of College Station, and they have also moved their way towards the north. We have this cold front continuing to move through. Where this dry area is behind DFW, that is, well, it's now, DFW is now behind the cold front, so it's now in that dry area. Oklahoma City, DFW, now it's going to be even the city of Austin. You are just behind the cold front, so you are now good as well. In fact, a little bit of a severe thunderstorm warning just barely to the south of you in Austin. So like Buda, that area to the south of Austin, you need to be taking those precautions for a severe thunderstorm warning, which is until 8:45. That's posing a risk for, I believe, hail and strong winds. I'm going to look on it right here. Yeah, so Bastrop, Caldwell, and Hayes counties is radar indicated 1-inch hail and 60 miles per hour winds with that one. So again, just take those precautions for that non-immediate tornado threat. But as this cold front moves its way east now, this is a full-on cold front now. That dry line is not really a concern for us. It's sort of combined. Behind this cold front, we have drier and colder air. Some air even as close to the 40s in some areas. It's moving its way towards the east. Once this cold front passes you, the severe threat is zero. It's gone. But for those of you ahead of the cold front, where you have these tornado watches, these boxes in yellow outline, that's where we're expecting to see a bit of a longer situation. So those of you in the North Texas area, your risk is now starting to end as it's transitioning into eastern Texas, Arkansas, even northwestern Louisiana, some of those parishes there in yellow as well that we'll now start to watch out for in the next few hours. What we're seeing for the next few hours, if we could zoom a little bit closer into just the area from top to bottom where we have those tornado warnings. We are watching some of these storms pulse up and pulse down. Some of these ones in the yellow red boxes have been very long-lived. These have been our major concerns throughout the night tonight. But we do have some more storms forming behind it right along that cold front. It's providing lift, and it's providing a lot of situation with this moisture to create these thunderstorms. These are going to be our next few ones we're concerned about as we get closer towards Louisiana. But right now, we have all these tornado warnings just lined up and down the corridor here that we're concerned about. And we will continue to keep you updated for each of these tornado warnings. But now, Chandler has some more information for us at the wall.
That's right. So we've been talking about the real-time situation, which is very dangerous. We want to break it down to you what's going to go on in the next few hours. Like Robert mentioned, this is going to continue to unfold for at least through tonight. At least in the next few hours. We actually are looking at this situation continue to be dangerous all the way through midnight in Central Time. Again, for those in Texas, you're threat is not over yet until, like Robert mentioned, that line gets through, which it won't be getting through until the early hours of the morning, when the main threat then is in Arkansas and Louisiana. What we like to look at, again, like I mentioned, was that that available potential energy, for these storms. And, well, it's a lot. This energy has been here for the last several hours as these storms have fed on it throughout this afternoon and evening. And, well, it's going to continue to persist. When we look at this type of graphic right here, we're looking at these, it's in joules of Cape, basically, is what it is. It is just energy, and that's what the units are. And what we don't want to see if we're looking for tornadoes, if anything is above, that 100 or that 1,000 to 1,500 joules of Cape, what that ends up telling us is that we can have these supercells. So when we see these blues and greens, that says that we can have anywhere from 1,500 to 2,500 joules of Cape. And so anywhere in Texas and into southeastern Arkansas and Louisiana, they all have the potential for tornadic activity just because we have so much energy in the atmosphere that the supercells can feed on. We can also break it down in other ways as well. One of the things that we like to look at is also just lightning density. When we think about these supercells, they're producing a lot of lightning as they race across the area. And, well, we can expect that to continue on throughout the night in these pockets with these supercells as the line races across. And once it even becomes a linear event and it's more of a line instead of all these discrete cells, it's still going to be quite a dangerous situation. Some of the other things that we like to look at include, well, the significant tornado parameter. It's one of many, and these are not foolproof. They're not perfect, but it does provide a good general idea of what kind of dangerous situation might unfold in the next few hours. And, well, right now we have a lot of energy, like I mentioned, a lot of helicity, which I have not shown yet, but basically that just means a lot of spin. And so we have all these different elements that can add together for a dangerous tornadic event. And basically this significant tornado parameter takes into account all these different meteorological elements and creates a possible map, or a map of the possible severity of the situation. And basically we don't want values that are greater than that 1. And the 1 is this green highlighted area. So anything greater than that green, once we start getting into the yellows and oranges and reds, that is when we can start to see that significant risk for tornadic activity. And of course, right now it is in eastern Texas, northeastern Texas specifically. But once we start getting towards the later hours of the night and closer to the early hours of the morning, this right here is actually close to midnight for Eastern time, so that would be 11 o'clock Central time. We start to see that threat shift into Arkansas and Louisiana, and significant possibility of tornadoes across southwestern Arkansas into southern Arkansas and southeastern Arkansas, pretty much everywhere across Arkansas, especially the central and southern parts, but then also the northern parts of Louisiana. They have that potential for significant tornadic activity. Of course, as this gets towards the latter hours of the evening, we'll stop seeing these supercells and start seeing more linear events, which means that these tornadic signatures are going to become a little bit harder to detect because they'll be in these long lines of storms and they'll be much more brief. That does not mean that they'll be any less severe. However, they will be harder to detect again because they'll be embedded in these long lines of storms that are producing straight line wind gusts that also are very damaging and destructive. However, right now we're mostly focused on the supercells that are feeding on the energy that I showed you. One of the other things we like to look at for the other types of threats that we are facing is vertically integrated liquid. We like to look at this for hail threat, and whenever we see these higher values, we end up seeing possibility of more hail. And like I mentioned earlier, we had some hail and a decent amount of hail reports over the last few hours. And again, even more hail reports continue to come in. But the tornado reports, of course, is what we're mostly focused on at the very moment. But again, this is a multi-hazard situation. And the Storm Prediction Center continues to predict that this event will persist throughout the evening into the early hours of the morning. Again, like I mentioned, we have all this energy, and it's going to continue to persist in the Louisiana, Arkansas regions into the early hours of the morning, 2 a.m. Central Time. Even once we get closer to the morning, then the threat will finally start to shift more towards wind. But right now, it's all tornadic. But we will be going over back to the wall to break it down more in depthly, these specific supercells.
Okay, so we're going to go all the way from the bottom to the top here, and we're just going to go through each storm to make sure everyone is being covered here. So right now, here's our broader view. This is the cold front we're talking about. It's now made its way east of DFW. So if you're tuning in here, you're from DFW, you're all in the clear in the Metroplex here. In North Texas, you're mostly in the clear here. Just a few more showers and thunderstorms behind this front. Not really concerned for you tornadically anymore. Texoma as well. The last few tornado warnings in Texoma have now crossed into Arkansas. So if we could zoom out here and go all the way to the south to that severe thunderstorm warning in Austin, or just southeast of Austin, excuse me. It's closer to Buda, and it goes towards Lockhart here. So we have Bastrop, Caldwell, and Hayes County. Again, here's Hayes County, here's Bastrop County, here's Caldwell County. It's moving off towards the north and east. As it makes its way further east, it will tap into a more rotational environment, one that is more favorable for tornadoes. So we'll have to watch out for you guys in College Station, and those of you in that area there that are going to be, if you're at A&M, if you're in Brenham, if you're anywhere just northwest of Houston, you are on a tornado watch now. So this storm, along with some of these other storms that have formed just east of Austin, here's your cold front right here. That's going to be a concern for us over the next few hours. We'll keep you staying tuned, or a little bit less than the next few hours. It's really going to be in the next hour or two here. That's what we're going to be concerned for. This, I want to really quickly point out this. This is an outflow boundary, this little line out ahead of these storms. What that is, that means that you have very intense winds with these thunderstorms, They're rushing out ahead of these storms, and you're going to feel it. A drop in temperature and an increase in wind gusts right here when these storms make its way towards College Station, Carmine, Brenham, Centerville. This area between I-45, I-20, you're basically under the gun for these storms. And right here, this faint yellow outline here, that's that tornado watch that's been extended all the way down towards College Station and Carmine. So now we're going to go off a little bit more towards the north. That tornado warning closer to Henderson and a little bit east of Jacksonville, Texas here. That right here, this is the tornado warning we're watching. And again, any of these storms around here have the potential to become tornado warned. So we'll get to each of them as they pose a threat. But Mount Enterprise, a little bit, Carthage, you're barely in the box here. Henderson, I want you in all those cities to be taking those precautions. Even if you aren't really in the box, it's too close for comfort. You're going to want to be taking those precautions, going inside a lowest level into your room, away from windows. You don't want to be close to windows. You don't want to be on the second floor. You don't want to be on the third floor. You want to be on the first floor or the basement. First floor room as close to the center of the house as possible, or your building, and a basement. Either one is good. If you have a basement, that's best, but many of you in this area don't have basements just because of the way houses are constructed and the way soil is. So that's the best option if you don't have a basement. We have this tornado warning right here for Rusk County, again, city of Rusk. If we could zoom in here just a little bit, Mount Enterprise, Henderson, Carthage. Yeah, if we could just punch in a little bit on this area where we have this area of concern for circulation, if we go to velocity as well on top of that. We have, again, this is the supercell. It's a little bit south of Henderson. Here's US 59. If we could just zoom in a little bit right here. Yeah, perfect. This is where we're concerned about for this circulation. You see these like lime greens, that's just high winds. You see these reds, that's higher winds in the other direction. You see these greens right here, that's even higher winds in the original direction. So that means there's a lot of rotation happening right here. City of Laneville, you need to be taking those precautions immediately. you need to be, whenever I say take those precautions, I mean go to that lowest level interior room immediately. It is a danger. This storm is very concerning, and it is going to be continuing to be concerning as we move off towards the north and east. So this one, again, this one down here, Rusk County. This one's Panola and Rusk counties as well. Wayneville, Bratchfield, Pine Hill, and Delray. Those cities here in Texas, US 79, US 259, those help you orientate yourselves. That's where this storm is moving off towards the north and east towards, and we are concerned for those of you. Barely clipping the cities of Carthage and Henderson. So if you're in those cities, just go inside that lowest level interior room. I know it might not be the most convenient thing to do, but we really want you to stay safe here, and that's why we're doing this, is just to emphasize what kind of a scenario this is here. This one is a radar indicated tornado, so just treat it as if it's confirmed. We know there's a very high potential for a tornado here. If we could go to correlation coefficient, I'm not so sure we're going to see anything here. Even if we don't, it's still a situation we need to be taking seriously, and I'm not sure I see anything here, but even still, it is a dangerous situation. It is one we are continuing to watch out for here as it approaches the city of Laneville. So if you're in Laneville, you need to be taking right now immediate action. You don't have time. It's really right knocking on your door here in Laneville. Go inside, lowest level interior room. I keep saying those 4 words a lot. It's because they're very important. Lowest level, you want to be on that first floor or basement if possible. No basement, first floor. Interior, go inside as close to the center of that house. In a room, you want it to be enclosed. You want all 4 walls to not have windows. You want it to be as close to the center and as far away from that tornado as possible. If you're out on the road, go find a gas station, go find a church, anything that's open, go inside there right now. A car is not a safe space to be in a tornado. If you're in a mobile home, you need to be, if there's like a building on your property that's like a two-second walk, you can go there right now, and it has cinder block structure, it has a foundation, go there immediately. City of Laneville, immediate threat for you in the city of Laneville. Again, I mentioned Rusk County, City of Rusk, you are not under threat for this storm. City of Rusk, you are in the clear. We also have what looks like another supercell on the top here. It's trying to sort of organize a little bit closer to the city of Henderson. Not really concerned immediately for this one. It's not under the warning. That's not what it's being warned for. But we might see another warning for it as it moves outside the warning if it does strengthen and also pose a tornadic threat. So that's that storm. Now let's move off a little bit more towards the north as well. So this is our original tornado warning for this storm, a little bit west of Atlanta, Texas. It's in Bowie and Cass counties. But now the city of Texarkana, the entire city of Texarkana, is under a tornado warning. So we have Bowie, Cass, Little River, and Miller counties. It's radar indicated, but you need to just act as if it is a confirmed tornado on the ground. This is the area of rotation. I was saying earlier, this had a little bit of a suspicious track. It's moving towards the city of Texarkana. It's not just moving towards the southern suburb, though. It's moving towards the city of Texarkana. So all of you in the Texarkana area, the metro, the greater area, the city itself, please be going inside that lowest level interior room. Take your family, your friends, and your pets. Excuse me. If you know anyone from this Texarkana area, please tell them that there is a tornado knocking on their door, or a potential one that they need to treat as if it is a tornado knocking on their door. Please go inside that lowest level room right now. Anywhere on I-30, I-49, if you're driving from Louisiana, from up towards the north here, you need to be taking your precautions and going inside that lowest level interior room, and like a gas station or something, just drive off the road, get inside a safe structure. So again, this is that area of concern for this storm here. It was originally observed. Right now here it says radar indicated, but just treat it as if it is a threat, an immediate threat on the ground. Zoom out just a little bit more. We're going to go further north. There is a storm. This is the original one that we had a emergency on. Now it's not, but it is still a dangerous situation. It is for Little River, Sevier counties, and Howard. Source is radar indicated, and the threat is considerable. So that means that even though it's radar indicated, we have a considerable threat because it was doing so much damage previously. So this area where you see these darker colors, that indicates faster winds up in the atmosphere. A little bit of rotation right here. And that's what we're concerned about if we go to correlation coefficient real quickly here. And that's a little bit messy. We're not seeing quite an easy indication here, but we do know there was a circulation here. We are seeing it on velocity. If you're anywhere west of Nashville, Arkansas, it's going to be along US 59 here. this is the area of concern. Please be going to that lowest level interior room as soon as possible. Okay, now we're going to go one further up here. This one, it's a little bit west of Mount Ida. It includes the city of Mina here. So if you're in Mina, I would say let's go to velocity here real quickly. Yeah, I would say the circulation is now, city of Mina, you're in the clear. So if you're watching us from Mina, you're in the clear here. Of course, there could be more storms behind it. So when I say you're in the clear, just mean with respect to this storm, could be some more, so you need to be paying attention. But right here, this red and green right here, very, very easy circulation to see. That tornado, it's been observed. It is right now ongoing right here, moving towards US 270. Gravely, you're a little bit further outside the box here, but you'll be next if it continues off towards the north and east. Mount Ida, I want you to be taking your precautions even though you're right on the edge of the polygon right there. If we could zoom in just a little bit in here so I can name out some city names in the center here if there are some that pop up on here. Yeah, so Pencil Bluff, Arkansas 298, US 270, Washita, anywhere in that area, you need to be taking those immediate actions. Go to that lowest level interior room, take your family and your friends, you only have minutes to act. Pencil Bluff, right here, here's US 270, here's Arkansas 298. So that's an observed, confirmed tornado on the ground. So let's zoom out a little bit further and go one further north than this one. And this one's going to be, yes, it is right there. It's for Johnson and Logan counties. Here's US 40, here's Spadra. This one is moving off towards the north and east. You have that circulation very easily right there. Now I would say it's a little bit more favorable conditions. It's a little bit weakening now. Favorable conditions for those of you on the ground there, not for the tornado. It's a little bit better, but it's still a storm that could be producing a tornado. Somewhere where you see these higher panks here, that could be upper level rotation here. So even though that circulation is not quite as evident, and I'm going to look on my laptop here if I can see some circulation from it as well, just in case it's the radar site that's being a little bit nitpicky and it's not the tornado itself. And I am having a hard time finding it, but I think if it is anywhere in here, yeah, if we go back to velocity, I think it's right around here. So it's this circulation they're watching right up in here. So it's going to be getting closer towards the county line, moving outside this tornado warning. Close to the cities of Ozone right here. Clarksville, you're fine. Coal Hill as well. But anywhere in this polygon, if you're in it, just take those precautions. It's been observed previously, and it could still very well be on the ground right now. Some of these areas where you have these hills and these trees where the radar beam, it's getting a little bit further from the radar here, could be creating those situations where it's harder to detect that immediately on here. So the NWS thinks it's serious enough for a tornado warning. So do we. Anywhere in Johnson and Logan counties in this warning, please go inside that lowest level interior room right now. It's not ever a scenario where you just be like, it's fine. I don't think I need to take these actions. I think I'll be fine. Don't risk your life. Just take those extra few minutes, go inside that bathroom, that lowest level, the closet, whatever. Go there now. Just take that few extra minutes. It could save your life. So again, this is the polygon right here. And then we'll go to our last one in the bunch. It's a little bit further north in the southern part of Missouri, excuse me, I was about to say Mississippi. It's south of Forsyth. We have this one here. It's for Taney County in Mississippi. Radar indicated it's this area right here we're concerned about. This, where you see these greens and these reds, that's a concern for us because we're seeing some rotation in here. City of Thornfield, you need to be taking your immediate actions. Lowest level interior room. Go inside that closet, that bathroom that will provide you the best chance of protection from this tornado. US 160, it's going to be until 8:45 p.m. Central Time for those of you in Taney. And if we could go to correlation coefficient, just so I can see if there's any debris here, and it doesn't appear to be any, but still take the situation seriously. This is a storm that is moving off towards the north and east. Zoom in just a little bit so we can get some more city names here. US 160, there's a major road going through here. We have a state route, Arkansas 125, and this is a Mississippi route. Missouri, excuse me, I said it again. Missouri route right here. It's making its way off towards the north and east there. This is that circulation. It's somewhere in this area where you have these heavier rainfall rates. Off towards the north and east, here's the city of Thornfield, Pontiac. It's a concern for us, so that's why we're pointing this out. County of Taney, that's where we're concerned for this circulation. And Branson, you are in the clear. Branson right over here. That's not a major concern for us in the moment, but could be some more storms in this scenario that do pose a threat as we go along. So we are continuing to follow this situation here. We've had now several tornado warnings from south to north that we have been following and continuing to follow. This yellow area is the area of concern. All of the areas in these yellow boxes, that's where the Weather Service thinks there's a really good threat for tornadoes. All the ingredients are getting mixed together well, and they see that there is a very good chance for tornadic activity in any of these yellow boxes. It's until midnight Central Time for those of you in these Texas counties, Arkansas counties, and Louisiana parishes that have the best chance of seeing a tornado. So again, make sure you are taking those precautions, and we are going to go to the TV wall here in just a few seconds to go over a little bit of this broader situation. If Chandler could tell us about the SPC outlooks, what they're saying, if they're issuing any updates for us, to get a broader scenario at what is going on tonight and what we could be seeing over the next few hours as the situation continues to develop and is a continuing developing situation for us here in the Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, and even up to Missouri area. Chandler.
Thank you, Robert. Yes, so like he mentioned, we have a very serious situation unfolding for most of the area between Texas, Arkansas, and Louisiana. Finally, Oklahoma is getting close to in the clear, although not quite yet, but getting close. But let's bring up the moderate risk real quick. And I just wanted to highlight what areas, again, are under that moderate risk. So SPC has this thing that they produce called the Day 1 Convective Outlook, and that is basically over the next few hours, what can we expect for tornadic, wind, and hail-related activity. And as of right now, we have some moderate. We have a moderate. That's the best way to put it, is we have a 4 out of 5 risk for severe weather that has been continuing to persist over the exact area that we've been covering, from northeastern Arkansas into northeastern Texas into southwestern Arkansas, excuse me. So again, if you live anywhere within that area, you are not out of the clear yet, because again, the Storm Prediction Center has continued to look at all these elements that I've highlighted to you, including convective available potential energy, as well as helicity and other elements. Again, there's a lot of favorable parameters, as we call them, that can feed into these storms, and that's why we've seen a lot of very strong, long-lasting storms. In fact, we can probably pull up some footage real quick of some of these storms. This is from earlier, but it is still quite devastating to see. You see this tornado that was taken not too long ago in New Boston, Texas. Again, they have been devastated by a tornado, and prayers go out to them. But we have this picture of a tornado in that local area. Of course, there's been so many warnings, we don't know which one this is exactly, but this was taken not too long ago. And the reason why it looks kind of bright out is actually because most likely that's lightning. That is not sunshine. So a lot of these storm supercells produce a lot of lightning. So oftentimes storm chasers have to depend upon lightning to observe tornadoes at night. And so yes, there's just been a lot of devastation here in the New Boston area, Texarkana, again, all these different regions. Just really crazy situation unfolding in that area. And just, again, this is due to all this energy that has been able to been converted into these supercells. And if we go towards some of these reports, we'll see if we can find any damage reviews. But again, here's a look from earlier that I showed you guys. But this pretty much encapsulates what you would expect to see tomorrow morning. This was from earlier this evening when there was still some evening light out. But again, these types of situations can be extremely devastating for for the residents in these areas. So of course, prayers go out to those in the affected communities. But again, a lot more action to continue to unfold throughout the evening, going from central Arkansas all the way down into central Louisiana. Those are our next areas of concern as the line of storms continues to shift towards the east, and we continue to see this tornado potential last. But again, the storm chasers are out trying to get footage. We've had a lot of hard times seeing anything for that supercell going towards Arkansas, but we hope to at least see something shortly before it reaches Texarkana. But again, this was in Sims, Texas, not too long ago, actually, just about 4 minutes ago. So this is one of those types of storms that is producing an observable tornado. And again, very dangerous situation. And if we continue to go back towards the SPC and look at some of the other things they like to highlight, again, we had this mesoscale discussion not so long ago that was issued for the area, and we expect that it would shift closer to the east as the situation unfolds, and they'll continue to observe this because there's just been constant warning after warning with these supercells continuing to develop. But again, when you look more closely at this region, it's just been pretty tough for those in the area. Specifically with this mesoscale discussion, it's been highlighting again that Texarkana region, getting into Arkansas, a little bit of Louisiana. But one of the things that they've been just paying attention to is how much shear there is, which is shear is a term used to describe differences in winds, and that's basically what we look for when we're looking for rotation, or what can cause rotation in a supercell. We need rotation in supercell in order for a tornado to develop. Once we get that rotation, we start to see these supercells drop tornadoes, and that's what we're observing here in the area. But again, it's been a very tough situation, and like I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of CAPE, a lot of energy that these storms are feeding on, 1,000 to 1,500 joules of CAPE. Again, this is going to continue to persist even into the later hours of the night, so those in Louisiana and Arkansas have to stay vigilant. Action steps that you can take for these types of situations when you're not immediately under the gun, definitely make sure that you have a place to go. Interior-most room of your house on the first floor is what you need, where you need to go. If you do not have an option like that, if you're in a modernly designed house that has no interior rooms, then go to a neighbor who has a basement. I'm sure there's somebody in your neighborhood if you live in a neighborhood. If not, definitely try to find an interior room. Cover yourself with a mattress. If you have to huddle in a hallway, just try to shield yourself. But again, start to think of those types of things. If you're not under the gun immediately, just try to be vigilant. Also, it is getting into the nighttime, which means that a lot of people are going to try to go to bed. You need to have a way to wake you up in case of emergency, so make sure you have your no weather radio on, or and definitely your emergency alerts on your phone. But now we're going to toss things over to Robert to break down kind of just the whole entire situation that we've seen this evening and what we can continue to expect across tonight and into tomorrow morning.
Some good stuff, Chandler. It's going to be getting into the night here. It's really important to remember that. It's now going to be 8:37 p.m. Central Time. If you've just joined us, this time is Eastern Time from our studios here in Tallahassee. It is Central Time here in Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, Oklahoma. So it's 8:37. Getting close to that nighttime period here. You don't want to be outside trying to find a tornado here. You're not going to see one. It's going to be very dark, and it's possibly rain wrapped. So because once you get in these higher moisture areas, you have these higher precipitation supercells, which it's harder to see your tornadoes here. Have your no-weather radio, turn it on, have your phone's weather alerts on, and have a local news anchor on at all times, just so you know if there are any tornadoes blowing through here. Make sure you're staying vigilant throughout the night here. This threat is expected to last at least a few more hours. But I want to right now make reference to Texarkana if we can. That area, right now we had a tornado warning for it that's just been expired. It is making its way closer to the area. The circulation has really fell apart over the last few minutes. So this area, you are now in the clear, but we could see something really start to wrap up together again. So if you're anywhere around Texarkana, around the I-49 corridor, around the I-30, just stay vigilant, keep watching the weather. Things could change here. So make sure you are continuing to watch and stay alert throughout the night. Just zoom back out again. I can make reference to all the tornado warnings here. Again, we have this one that came out of Nacogdoches County. We have these two in central Arkansas here, close to Mena, but Mena, you're now fine. And we have this small one up here that is being a little bit, they're removing the space from it because it's now moved out of that warning. Just that far eastern part is where that warning is. That's now in Missouri. So here's our line here. Let's now go to a little bit more broader view of why these events are happening tonight and what is at play here. So we're going to first look at some things like the SPC outlook. We're going to look and see about the things that we are watching today for the overall setup here. Right here is a low pressure system. It's bringing with it a cold front that joined with a dry line. We have these dry lines and cold front setups. It brings up a scenario where you have storms out ahead of the cold front and a second round of storms with the cold front. That's what we've been seeing today. Now they're sort of congealed a little bit, but the problem is they're still remaining discrete. If you're just joining us and you haven't heard us talk about the explanation of discrete and linear before, when you have a discrete storm, it's way easier for it to rotate and put down a strong, violent tornado. When it's linear, all your storms sort of bunch together in a big line. We like to call it a QLCS or an MCS. That situation it's a little bit more conductive for weaker tornadoes because you're not able to get that discrete rotation as easily here. So that's why it's so important to have that cold front dry line difference. Is when you just have that cold front bringing through that line of thunderstorms, you're watching for quick spin-up tornadoes, still dangerous to those who are impacted by it, but not quite as widespread and long-lasting. Ahead of that dry line, though, we had these what we call warm sector storms. It created a situation where we had these discrete supercells, and sadly, these storms are still persisting. They aren't really bunching together yet, and they're still creating a long-lived tornado threat. So here's our radar we've been seeing over the last few hours. The storms made their way through the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, went through Texoma and the I-35 corridor. Through DFW, you saw a lot of gusty winds and hail, but fortunately, no tornadoes for any of us here in the DFW Metroplex. Unfortunately, though, there were tornadoes around the North Texas area. There were a few that were already reported close to the Durant area, some along the border here, and that one that went through Sulphur Springs, another one that went through Hughes Springs, and damage has been reported with both of those two. We hope as few lives are lost as possible and as little damage has been inflicted as possible. We've been seeing these thunderstorms move towards the north. And you're seeing this line back here, this is your cold front line. These storms out ahead of it, these discrete supercells, that's your bigger tornado threat. What's positive here is this cold front is now starting to cut into these supercells, starting to overrun them. As it gets there, it's going to force them all together and force them into a line. That won't be the ideal scenario because still you're going to have these powerful long line of thunderstorms that pose a threat for high winds, gusty winds, hail, and even spin-up tornadoes, but it reduces our risk for these long-track, long-lived, powerful tornadoes we've seen throughout this ongoing tornado outbreak tonight. Now, these storms are moving off towards the north as well, and they still pose that threat off into northern Arkansas, not Fayetteville, not Bentonville. You guys are in the clear there in northern Arkansas, but more towards the east, north and east. That's our concern as well. I'm also concerned the fact that these two tornadic thunderstorms, they're moving towards that Little Rock area. You still have about an hour of lead time or so, so it's possible they fall apart. That's what we want to happen. We don't want anyone in these areas, big cities, small towns, no matter where you are, we want them to fall apart as quickly as possible. But we are keeping track on these as they could pose a threat for the Little Rock area. So that's the overall setup we've been watching here. Now here are the watches and warnings. We have tornado watches all the way from College Station. We have Brazoria, that area in the south, all the way up to the north, where we have at that Missouri-Arkansas line in the Ozarks. These tornado watches are expiring around midnight Central Time, some a little bit earlier, some a little bit later, but overall midnight Central Time. We also have a severe thunderstorm watch for this setup in Missouri. Those thunderstorms do pose a risk for spin-up tornadoes, but more of a risk for those large hail and gusty wind threats we see with those lines of thunderstorms. as this congeals further into a line, and we hope it falls apart as soon as possible. We also have flash flood warnings behind this threat, where we've been seeing this heavy rain, where we have both rounds of thunderstorms, these supercell thunderstorms and this line of thunderstorms behind it, where both of them were in play, particularly in Texoma. We're seeing a lot of flash flooding, and that could persist into tomorrow. So if you're driving in Texoma and into the far eastern Oklahoma areas, you need to be making sure that you are turning around and not drowning when you get into those areas. Turn around, don't drown. When you see flash flooding, even if it's a few inches of water, you think, I can drive over this, it's just going to be fine. It's better just to stay safe. Even if you think it's not enough, it could be enough to pull over not just a small car, but a truck, even bigger cars, vans. They can be dangerous. So if you are driving on a road, you see a little bit of ponding water, just avoid it. Take those extra 5 minutes. It could save your life. This is a big system. You can see all of the effects of it going all the way up into Iowa and Wisconsin. We saw a few severe thunderstorm warnings earlier today in Wisconsin as well. But overall, the main threat here, it was in Texas and Oklahoma. Now it's moving its way towards Louisiana and Arkansas, and that is our concern here as well. Here's the water vapor, just showing the massive scale of this system here, and the fact that it's driven by a cold front. All this moisture that's been, what we say, advected in meteorology, it's been sort of, you could say, moved off towards the north here. That's where it's moving into this, what we call warm sector, and creating this thunderstorm, severe thunderstorm development. These oranges and even into reds here, that's where you have these more intense thunderstorms that are creating this more moist conditions. They're tapping into this more moist conditions, more unstable conditions, excuse me, with this instability, and they're really taking advantage of it and making severe thunderstorms. But behind this cold front, where we have these more browns into blacks, that is drier air, and it's creating a lot of relief for those of you in North Texas and Oklahoma, all the way into West Texas. They're now seeing temperatures in the 40s, and it's going to be a very nice night for you. Unfortunate that this first part had to happen, though, and you had these severe thunderstorms impacting those of you Texas, Oklahoma, and for Arkansas and Louisiana. Here's our future radar. So far, our in-house models are thinking that this system is going to be moving its way towards the east. You see these winds coming from the south here ahead of this front. That's what we're talking about, this advection. This moisture from the Gulf of Mexico is helping to feed and sustain these storms. Now, on the good side for us, it's getting towards the darker part of the day here. It's going to be 2:37 a.m. here in Tallahassee, 1:37 in this part of the nation. It's going to be a little bit too dark for you to get that really unstable atmosphere. Without that sunshine, your instability goes down. Even if you have a lot of moisture advection, that instability is decreasing. So that's going to be a positive sign for us. And throughout the day, you should see these thunderstorms start to decrease in intensity. And that's exactly what they're doing here. Now, we do think that this line will hold up all the way into Mississippi and Alabama, but it's unlikely at this point you're going to see many severe storms, because the instability is decreased to such a point that these are just very weak storms, and the environment here is not quite as favorable. Could there be one or two? Perhaps, but it's unlikely that they will be a widespread severe threat for those of you in Mississippi and Alabama. I believe they have a marginal risk of severe weather for those of you around Mobile and this Mississippi, Alabama area. Not likely to see a widespread severe threat like we did today. Here's Saturday, 10:20 a.m., moving its way off towards the east. And you're thinking, well, we're here in Tallahassee. Here's some local viewers watching our channel, and you're seeing this, well, is this going to affect us here in our Tallahassee studios? Not really, because by the time it makes its way all the way into Alabama, it's really falling apart, and it doesn't have a lot of instability to really tap into. It's so close to the Gulf of Mexico, but that really favorable environment where you have that jet stream sustaining these storms with your high instability values, that's not really the case over here. It's kind of falling apart, and it's not really going to persist all the way towards us. Might see a shower or two, but by the time it gets here, not expecting a severe threat at all. And you could just see it falls apart. Might get some cloud cover tomorrow, and that's basically it for us here in Tallahassee. Not expecting a severe threat. So right now, moderate risk of severe weather. You don't see those too often at all, but particularly at this time of year in November. Don't remember the last time there was a moderate risk here in eastern Texas into Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana. It's been a while, but it has verified today on the bad side for us. We didn't want to see it verify, but it did. And they forecasted it well, which means that we have seen a bad outbreak of severe weather here. Here's our moderate risk, here's our enhanced, Here's our slight, here's our marginal. Those are just your degrees of how severe they expect it to be. And we're still right now seeing some weather in that moderate and enhanced risks. That's where we're expecting to see this persisting of potential tornadoes, hail, and gusty winds. This is tomorrow. It's pointing out there was a little bit of a marginal risk. Here it is. New Orleans into Jackson and Mobile. You're under the threat of that marginal risk, not expecting an organized threat at all. We're expecting maybe 1 or 2 severe thunderstorm warnings. That's pretty much it. Should you stay weather aware? Certainly. Should you be worried about an outbreak like today? Not at all. We're not expecting like that. The conditions just are nowhere near as favorable as they were previously. So here's our weather stem in Dallas. Things have really cleared out now, seeing a few lingering clouds in the area, but overall just a nice dark sky. And I believe this looks like it's at the airport here. You have just a very nice dark sky, and things are starting to clear out here in Dallas. And now it's going to be getting into the 40s tonight. So those of you back home in the Metroplex, enjoy these conditions here, seeing the seesawing of warm conditions now going into these less warm conditions. You're now 40s here, a little more seasonable for those of you in North Texas. And things really starting to clear out here. Very nice day. Just sad we had to get through this first part to get to these nicer conditions, though. Going to be favorable for cleanup efforts for those of you in eastern Texas, southern Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana that are seeing these tornadoes, but we are going to continue to watch for these conditions as well. So right now, here's our radar. I'm going to pass things back off to Chandler to do a little bit more wall for us to talk about these severe thunderstorms. But again, continuing to watch for these tornadoes and severe thunderstorms.
Thank you for that, Robert. Again, there's multiple tornado warnings across this line. We're starting to die down just a bit from the craziness that we saw earlier with those 5+ tornado warnings. But as of right now, we're down to just a few in this exact snapshot right here. We have these 3 that we're tracking. They're pretty large boxes, and they're going to be tracking these embedded tornadoes within this line. But we are still having to keep track of these storms as they continue to push into Arkansas. Like I mentioned, there's a lot of energy involved with this system. So again, these storms are going to feed upon that energy, feed upon that vorticity, like the Storm Prediction Center said, and that's going to continue to be an issue for those in the Arkansas and Louisiana area, specifically Arkansas. In fact, they have the 2 tornado warnings that now we have in between I-30 and I-40. So those are our 2 things that we can probably zoom in on and take a closer look at. Let's go to the one closest to Texas, the one in southwestern Arkansas. We can maybe just see what it's all about, because really, honestly, it is embedded in the line, so we have to kind of see what kind of circulation we're dealing with. It's most likely going to be a little bit on the weaker side. However, that just means that it's more of a brief storm, but that does not mean, or brief tornado. It does not mean that it's going to be any less severe. But again, let's go ahead and, yes, it's for 9 p.m. Central Daylight Time. Counties, well, we probably need to look more at the next one over, Aaron, if you would like to switch over to that one. Let's see. Okay. Yes, so this one has a notch on it. That's why we should probably focus a little more on this one. It's going to be 9:30 p.m. Central Daylight Time. That's when it expires. Counties Logan, Perry, Szot, and Yell. This system right here is pushing its way eastward through central Arkansas, and it's going towards Danville at the moment. So if I called your name Danville, that's not a good situation for you. Guys have to take shelter, go inside the most interior room of your house, and make sure it's on the first floor. Right now we have the circulation that's passing just east of Gravelly, and it will continue to press on with these embedded line type events. We are more focused on these quick spin-up tornadoes. So even if this starts to die down a little bit, you can expect it to spin right back up again. But right now, it's pretty clear circulation because we have this notch that continues to twist. And when we have this twisting notch, we have a lot of circulation that is shown on this vorticity plot. And it will continue to press on towards Bluffton at 8:57 p.m. So if you are in Bluffton, this is right knocking on your door in the next 4 or 5 minutes. And then Briggsville, you guys are next in line at 9:03 p.m. And then Rover at 9:08. Danville, like I mentioned earlier, 9:13. and Ola at 9:20. So you guys in the next 10, 15, 20 minutes, you guys are going to see this strong line of storms with a bit of a rotation in it. And again, let's go ahead and go to the CC values. We may not see much of anything, but yeah, it's pretty hard to see. This is a very cluttered map just because we are on the edge of these radars. But again, it is still a dangerous situation. We can go back to reflectivity if we want to. And the reason why it's dangerous is not just because of the tornado signature, although there is that rotation couplet, but it's also very heavy rain, very strong winds. So we have a combination of three main hazards. We have that tornado potential, of course, highlighted by the tornado warning, which expires at 9:30 Central Daylight Time, but also very heavy rain. So you do not want to be driving in this system at all. And also, it is one of those systems that is producing straight line winds. We talked about reports earlier, and there's over 20 wind reports at this point associated with this long line of storms that's been stretching all the way from Wisconsin all the way down here into Texas and Arkansas. And again, like I mentioned earlier, we have this notch that continues to push its way towards Danville. Danville, you guys are next in line. But let's go ahead and zoom out again and just look at the more broad scale view of the line. Of course, like I mentioned, things are starting to die down just a bit. However, we have these two tornado warnings. Let's go over to the bottom one and let's see if we can get a time on that. So this is technically two warnings. However, this one right here should expire shortly. This one, I suspect, yes, it's 9:15. So this one's lasting a little bit longer. It's in Pike County. Radar indicated. Probably has a little bit of a rotation signature. How about let's look at that. Let's see what it looks like. Right, so we have this little bit of red that's saying it's going away from the radar, so it's coming this way. And then we have the green that's saying it's going this way. And we have a decently strong wind coming towards the radar. And then we have a little bit of weaker winds that are going away from the radar. However, if you notice the purple line, like I mentioned earlier, that means that we're farther away from the radar. So we have to take this with a grain of salt and more so focus on the fact that there is rotation to begin with. Because there's rotation, we need to keep a close eye on this storm. It is definitely possibly producing a tornado, but it's definitely producing straight line wind gusts. So you guys have to take shelter if you are along US 70 towards Glenwood, excuse me. So if you're anywhere along US 70, honestly up towards Hot Springs even, you guys are in line for this line of storms that continue to produce straight line winds and hail as well, but mostly straight line winds. And then, of course, the quick spin up tornado is a potential possibility. We can look at CC values real quick and see if there's anything with the storm. Not really as much. There's a decent amount of just radar clutter in general. There might be something involved, though, when we look specifically right here. Go back to reflectivity. Let's see. Okay, how about velocity? It could be, or it could just be some hail. But again, this is a dangerous situation in general. So even if it isn't, it could be. It might actually be. But right now, we're mostly just focused on keeping prepared, even if it isn't necessarily a confirmed tornado. It is still possibly a tornado, and there is definitely winds within this long line of storms that could produce damage that is the equivalent of a weaker tornado. And again, if you live anywhere along this U.S. highway from Daisy to Glenwood up towards Mazama, and then once we get towards the Hot Springs, you guys are all under the gun for a strong line of storms and a possible spin-up tornado. Daisy, 8:58, that is 1 minute away, so hopefully you guys are already taking shelter. Lodi, you guys are about 5 minutes away. I can do math, right? No, it's 6 minutes away. Let's go. But anyway, Lodi, you guys need to take shelter now. You pretty much have only 5 minutes to take shelter. And then Glenwood, you guys are next after that with about 10 minutes. And Mazarn, excuse me, you guys 9:20, Bonnerdale at 9:21. So again, this long line of storms is going to continue to produce these quick spin-up tornadoes. We're less so worried about the supercells now. We're more so worried about these straight line winds and embedded quick spin-up tornadoes. And you can kind of just tell about this transition when you look at this overall map and just see that there's a lot more severe thunderstorm warnings and a few less tornado warnings. We still have those three, but this one's expected to expire here in a couple minutes. We have basically 2 tornado signatures that we're monitoring, and then we have a long line of storms, a long line of this system with multiple severe thunderstorm warnings, especially up towards northern Arkansas. Let's just look at this real quick and see what types of winds this is producing. So we actually see kind of a bow. If you can zoom a little further down, actually. Go further south a little bit. Yes. So right here we have this bowing. And what a bow in a long line of storms means is that we have this really strong winds that are pushing in behind it. And what that means is we have this big, huge push. And usually that indicates very strong winds. And that's what prompted this severe thunderstorm warning for counties of Newton, Pope, Searcy, Van Buren. This is going to be valid for the next 15 minutes from till 9:15 p.m. Central Daylight Time. So if you guys live at all along these counties and even further into central and even eastern Arkansas, at this point, this line is going to eventually reach you guys too. And again, this is more of a straight line wind event up here. And we have multiple of severe thunderstorm warnings because of these strong winds that continue to push along the front and creating these bowing segments. But again, it's quite a dangerous situation in general for those that are live in central Arkansas. So again, not a good situation at all. But once we go further down towards central and southwestern Arkansas, we really see just these 2 warnings now. The one that I said would expire has expired. And again, we're tracking 2 tornado signatures. We can go to turn on velocity real quick and just see what that's all about. Again, we have that signature up there and this broad signature. The one thing with this signature now is it looks like it's broadening. And so that normally indicates that it is a little more just a big, huge rotation signature and less so a tight, we want to see more of the tight circulations, is what I'm trying to say, when we're looking for tornadoes. This is still a rotation, so we have to keep an eye on it. But again, with this long line of storms, these types of circulations pop up very quickly, die out quickly, and then they pop up again. So if you're at all within that tornado warning, 9:15 p.m. Central Daylight Time, it's going to expire then. So County of Pike, if you live within that county, go ahead and take shelter until 9:15 p.m. at least. And then we can go up to the other one, which now we're starting to see this big, huge just curvature. And we're seeing a decent amount of just large-scale rotation. Again, not tight rotation like we were seeing earlier with the supercells. However, it still means that we have that strong wind. So we're having a lot of strong wind wrap around from the east, wrapping into the front, and with the strong winds on the backside from the west. So we're still seeing a lot of strong winds and a potential for tornado because it is, of course, rotation. And so we could still see something pop up from this. However, it's looking more so like this type of wind right here is what we're worried about, with the wind being very strong in general for the counties of Logan, Perry, and Yale. This long line of storms has been producing a lot of wind reports, like I mentioned, over 20 at this point. And we can continue to expect more throughout tomorrow once people start looking outside their yards. But yeah, if we want to get some timing on this event real quickly and see what it looks like for counties east and north of here. Right, so Rover, you guys, you have about 5 minutes to get inside your interior-most room of your home. Make sure you're away from windows. Make sure that you are able to take shelter in case a tornado does develop and get near your home and threaten your community. Also, Danville, 9:13, so 10 minutes for you guys. Ola at 9:18. And then Petite Jean at 9:22, and Dardanelle. You guys as well. You're a little bit further away from the tornado warning, so we'll see if the signature dies out by the time we get to you. However, in general, this long line of storms has been continuing to create a lot of rotation in general, and so we can expect that that rotation will die off and then come back just throughout the rest of this evening. But in general, if you live anywhere east of this line, just be prepared at least for strong winds, if not a quick spin-up tornado. But let's look just at the large-scale environment in general. Again, we have these yellow boxes that indicate tornado watches, so we're going to continue to look for those watches as we continue to go throughout the night. And we have these severe thunderstorm warnings that are warning for very strong winds that can still produce damage of the equivalent of a weak tornado. And of course, we also have a lot of lightning throughout this entire system. And there's been some hail reports, although that's mostly with the supercells, but we can maybe expect that in some of these embedded pockets of the line as well. So this is overall, this event has been producing a lot of damage, for a lot of different hazards. But now we can expect that it will continue to evolve more towards a wind event with a quick spin-up tornado possible. So if you guys live within central to eastern Arkansas, make sure you guys have alerts on for your phone, and if you have no weather radio, make sure that that's turned on. And of course, if you live anywhere within a tornado watch, which also includes places south of Arkansas and places north of Arkansas as well, make sure that you guys are alert throughout the rest of this evening and into tomorrow morning as well. But yeah, again, this long line of storms has a lot of heavy rain associated with it. And this heavy rain, again, not good driving conditions, and something that you want to refrain from driving in, and you want to stay inside. Again, with the winds that are associated with this event, they're pretty strong, and they can produce a lot of damage, even though they might not be associated with a tornado. So again, if you live anywhere along central Arkansas, like Little Rock, you guys can expect some winds and heavy rain throughout the rest of this evening and into tomorrow morning. But this has been a bunch of severe weather coverage for you guys. We've just been trying to break down this entire system. And like I mentioned, the supercells don't look like they're going to develop anymore. We're mostly just looking at a wind-related event, and we're expecting that this will devolve into more of a rain and wind-centered focus. But again, just looking at this in general, we have had a lot of warnings and watches and storm reports, and we'll continue to see if that develops into anything throughout the rest of this evening. And of course, stay vigilant and be on alert with your no weather radio, with your phone as well, just tracking and keeping alert with the system that has produced a lot of tornadoes this evening, and also a lot of wind damage. And like Robert mentioned, this system will continue to push its way eastward into the southeast, but by the time it gets to Florida, where we need some rain, it will be dying off shortly. So I'm going to turn things over to Robert, and he's going to continue to talk about this system and what we've been talking about this evening.
Right, thank you, Chandler. Again, we have been following this weather event just throughout the day here. All of us at the studio have been following it. Once it's released, we started our live coverage here. We described what happened here. It was a cold front that made its way through the southern plains, went through Dallas, went through Texoma, all the way stretching down towards Austin. And we saw some severe thunderstorm warnings. We saw some tornado warnings. Sadly, as it moved its way further east, we had some of these warm sector storms pop up. We saw even more intense tornadoes going towards, and just to name a few, not entirety of tornadoes. We had Sulphur Springs, we had Ida Bell, we had New Boston get hit by what looks like significant tornadoes. We'll have to wait and see what the ratings are, but we do know very devastating situations for those communities. You are in our hearts, and we hate to see this happen. We never want to see this happen. We always want to see these kind of events bust, but sadly, this one did verify. Overall, we will expect this to continue moving east. These tornado warnings will likely pose a threat for the city of Little Rock, so if you're anywhere around there, Central Arkansas, make sure you have those, your phone, your warnings on, you have no weather radio turned on just to wake you up. We know it's getting late. It's going to be 9 p.m. It's getting into 10 p.m. now, Central Time. It's going to be late for those of you there, and you're going to want to make sure that even if you're asleep, you can be woken up and take those precautions to go into a lowest level interior room at a minute's notice. This again, we have this low pressure system here bringing nice cool air behind you. Hopefully it'll be nicer conditions for the rebuild for many of these communities that have suffered some tragedies tonight that we hate to see. We have this cold front here. It's now combined with your dry lines. Now it's just a very, very potent cold and dry cold front. Making its way further east will pose a severe threat tomorrow for those of you in New Orleans, in Biloxi, in parts all the way up towards Jackson, and maybe in Mobile where we have a marginal risk. Not expecting widespread severe weather for any of you, but just to mention, there could be some pop-up severe thunderstorms tomorrow, so if you're going to watch some football games, make sure you are going out towards your communities and you are informing your friends, letting them know, hey, we might need to make sure that we're taking cover, we're taking shelter, and we have some hail and we have some wind here. So again, thank you for joining us tonight. We've made sure that we have been keeping you as informed as possible. We've been giving you as much information as we can. There are still some active tornado warnings, so for those of you out there, make sure that you are staying tuned, listening to your local news, listening to the Weather Service trusted meteorologists. But for now, for those of us here at the Tallahassee studios of FSU Weather, we'll be signing off, and thank you for watching us tonight, and we'll be praying for all those who are affected by the tragedies